Friday is, I don't know if anyone noticed that, but Friday is same thing. I think it's session 6 and 7. Yes, you can go through KW. You can go through Connect. I think you can look them up on Connect now. So if you go into your command and up on the top bar, I think it says Command then Connect. If you go to Connect, you can search like session, Spark session 4, 5, whatever.
Just remind us tomorrow, Paula, we can give you the manuals for Friday.
Yeah.
Can you put them in my mailbox? Because I have an appointment tomorrow, so unfortunately I'm going to miss it.
So that's tomorrow. I don't know who's running the meeting for that, but someone will be here to discuss things, I'm sure. And everything will be run off the screen anyway. So, other thing I want to talk about, and hopefully if we get Bathurst up, great. The DocuSign. Who here? I know Paula, have you been using DocuSign?
I've been putting them from web forms over to DocuSign. I haven't legitimately done one to send in yet, but
Okay.
I can transfer them over.
So DocuSign's going to, and I'm saying this before Amanda does it, but Amanda's going to have DocuSign all ready to roll. And so it's going to be, so we've got about a couple months left with DotLoop. But before then, we'll have lots of training on DocuSign. It's pretty much, it's very much the same, just a different name and a couple different things about it. What's that? You just pay for it. That's all, the only difference.
Is DocuSign ready, like if we wanted to do
Today? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Good to go. Good morning, Bathurst. So Bathurst. So I'll restart that because the DotLoop DocuSign thing is going to be for everyone across the province. So to answer the question, I got questions about, what was the question again?
So if we get a deal today,
right.
Could it be written up in web forms and go through DocuSign?
Yes, correct. So everything right now can be brought manually over from web forms, and that's how a lot of people have been using DocuSign. So in St. John, for instance, like a lot of their agents have used DocuSign for years, and they've just known that they're going to pre-fill it out in web forms, bring it over, get it signed, and that's kind of now they're not connected in the fact that it's got to be manually done. Correct. So what we're trying to do is before we have to make the switch over, hopefully a month before, we'll have everything ready in DocuSign so that a month before we cut DotLoop, for instance, we'll be able to do a full transaction just like you're doing DotLoop.
So do you have to go into command to get to DocuSign?
No. But if that's a different question altogether.
If you want to stay on DotLoop, what would the charge be? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. I know and I'm just speaking because the Drisdale team, there's two other teams, I think the Brent Ryan's team and Babineau's team at Moncton are on, they pay for what they call teams. It's a different type of DotLoop so that like Jen can go under my name and do all the documents up, or if I don't have to share everything with Jen. Jen sees everything that I do, and she can do everything on my behalf as well. I know, for instance, for that's $100 a month American. So I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be because Keller Williams had a pretty big contract with them. So I think that there was a lot of, there was quite a bit of money going back and forth with the realtors seeing that. So I'm not sure. DotLoop is calling. I know they've called our office 1,000 times before we signed this contract to keep on with them for a couple more months. But I do know that they are calling agents to say, we can offer this or that or what have you. So the option's there. No one's saying that you can't use DotLoop at all.
No,
and it's very much going to be integrated with command, just like DocuSign's going to be. It's just we're just following the lead of Keller Williams. Keller Williams has switched to DocuSign. And I think more or less the reason why they did switch to DocuSign was because DotLoop got bought by Zillow. And Zillow Keller Williams is probably one of their biggest competitors. So that's why they kind of decided to part ways. And just so you know, that anything that you do under dot loop through Keller Williams, no matter what, they still have the data pledge, so they don't share your information with regards to.
Even after, you mean?
Supposedly, now, because if they did, they wouldn't be allowed to be part of command. They wouldn't be allowed. They couldn't be a third party. They have to sign off on that. So now that's from what I gather. I'm not 100% sure on anything else on that.
I tried to upload my dot loop to bring it on to command, and it let me do it, went through all the steps, click, 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 and then it said, no, we're not, you either have too much information or not enough, so I wasn't
Right.
really sure what that meant.
I do know that between now and the 14th or 15th day of February, there's not going to be a whole lot of updates that are going to be rolled out. And every day they're doing a lot of work on command right now. A couple of us are on the tech call every week, and they said that so there's going to be things like that are going to be a little bit bogged down over the next couple weeks. So I wouldn't get too worried about it's all going to happen.
I don't need it on there, because I'm going with
Yep.
DocuSign, but I just wanted to try it to see if.
That's pretty good. The breakfast is pretty good. Wow.
Follow the leadership.
I almost thought I was going to have to put my name on there for a minute.
Turn it over.
No, there's no more lines. The other thing I want to mention, and I've had a conversation with quite a few agents, and this is going to be very much applicable to Bathurst, anywhere across the province for that matter, is conditions. I've had a conversation with two agents, one in Moncton, one in St. John actually, about having a session kind of dedicated to conditions and how to write a condition, and what we want to do is kind of get pre-filled conditions so that when we do make the move to DocuSign, when you go into additional terms or you decide to pull an amendment up, you can actually click and like pull off a condition and then just put the dates in, or whatever's applicable.
Nice.
And I really think that for me, I mean, in dot loop, I did a lot of the ones on dot loop that if you press space bar in additional terms, all those ones written out.
Well, I know that radon one's been a godsend to me, like.
Yeah. So, in like, for instance, I know Tracy and I had the conversation about, about having the lawyer, if you're on the purchasing side, having the purchaser's lawyer be able to contact whether it be the city of Fredericton or the city of Bathurst to make sure that all outstanding work orders, permits have been satisfied. So there's different things that I think now, who would think that would be something of value? Yeah.
Jonathan, you can get all those clauses from the clause bank.
Yeah, I find the ones, now don't get me wrong, I find that some of them are really written well, but there's a lot like hidden because it's so deep. Like, I mean,
Right, I agree with
so
you.
I think if we kind of pared it down to
Yeah.
what would make sense
I agree.
here,
Yeah.
but I agree. Like, yeah, no, they're all there. Like, I don't know if anyone's went through web forms and the clauses, but like there's literally like
But
10,000
you can take the
clauses.
ones out that you want to save work for you and then make your own. Because I like the one that you wrote up on my contract when you were working for the buyer about being able to go check things out with the Department of Environment or Health or final
Right.
inspections.
Right.
All of those clauses that you put in there, I thought, I'm gonna use those clauses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, it's called R&D, rip off and duplicate. I mean, I've had those sent my way, so it's not that I invented those by any means. So I think that would be something, because one of the things we're going to do when we go into DocuSign, and what MBREA is really pushing right now, is we got to get rid of all of our office forms. So there will be no more well and septic schedule with Keller Williams on it. There'll be no more inspection, I think they call it an inspection waiver. It's all going to be MBREA forms, and I think what we'll have is conditions or clauses that, if it's on well and septic, we'll have an actual schedule so that you just basically pull the schedule up and then put what you want down in there for the information you're looking for. And I think that'll make it a lot easier, and it'll save maybe someone's behind down the road, because I think it's really, really, crucial how you write those up. And, you can get burnt pretty easily. I know I had a conversation with Paula this morning about HST, and she says, how do you know if HST is applicable to this, particular property that you're going to be listing? It's been subdivided off a larger piece, and there was another one subdivided off, and, how do you know, right? If, more was subdivided off or less was subdivided off, right?
Service New Brunswick, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I was burnt, 5 or 6 years ago for 15% on a $460,000 house. And my clients weren't too happy when they had to find out that they were gonna pay an extra $65,000. So,
Can you explain that to us, Jonathan? How come you had to pay the 15% and that?
Well,
was- it-
it's a long story, but long and the short of it is, it was a bank repossession.
Right,
It was a new house, had went through 7 different names, but the same person owned it, and it was a developer who owned it. And I put in, because it was a bank repo, and they said, they cross out HST to say that they know, or if it is applicable. I assumed it wasn't applicable.
was not applicable?
Was not applicable because it had changed names.
Right,
It
yeah.
had personal names in it. And then the day of closing, TDE came in and said, we're looking for a 15%.
Oh, wow, that's good for all of us to know.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's great for me to know that,
You're trying to forget it.
I've never felt like, honestly, like it was probably the worst feeling in the world.
But we
And-
probably would have all done the same thing.
Yeah, and then a week later, my clients got rid of me, of course, and they went out, they bought it prior for sale. I don't think I've talked to them since. And then the bank ended up selling it without HST.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, anyways, you live and learn. So I know conditions can get you burnt. Okay, so I think that's a big one, and I think that we'll sit down. And if anyone wants to have like a brainstorm on stuff like that, or even how to write them, because a lot of people, I know I get to come across our desk, or I see, especially through Austin's, about, different issues on closings or things like that, and some of the conditions that come in are just awful. Not saying from this office, but like terribly written.
Well,
And
they're all.
they don't
di-
protect, they
they're
don't
all
protect.
different, like, what's essentially the same condition. Every realtor writes it up differently.
And technically, you're supposed to have certain aspects of that in, and if they don't answer all the questions, then, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're writing a condition on the behalf of your client, you're positioning it so that it protects your client more so than it protects someone else's client, right? So, I mean, you gotta kind of keep that in mind as well. Other than that, I mean, I know we've got a bit of a session here with Mr. Sullivan. And I know that's tomorrow, Brad, is it?
Yes, tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon? Oh, that's right, sorry. One more announcement. April 17th, I think you got the email. The awards banquet, I guess, is April 17th in Moncton.
Casino New Brunswick.
Casino New Brunswick, Scott McTavish, you heard it there first.
Not where it is.
No, it's at the Elmwood Motel. So, yeah, cut back. So, more details will follow on that, right, Amanda?
Yeah.
So, I don't even know when is, like, the 17th of Friday or Saturday?
Yes,
Okay.
it is Friday, yeah.
Okay, so, there's that.
Did you mind if I wanted to add something?
Sure.
You're gonna be a lounge singer?
Yeah, I'll be on the roulette table. No, I just wanted to mention, it was on Facebook yesterday. A few years ago, one of my best friends, we got talking about real estate. And at the time, this fella, he's a certified cook, great musician, great comedian. At the time, a cement truck driver, not happy with where his career was going. And I said, did you ever think of real estate? Because it was going pretty good for me. And I know about our sponsorship program at Keller Williams as well, but it was more about being happy and satisfied with your life and having a career that you feel thrilled with. Well, Alan started a couple of years ago, and because of technology and it's a different world than cement truck driver in that world. And, of course, both valuable professions, but it was, I'd have to say it was a challenge for Alan because of technology
Right.
and things like that. The biggest
So
one.
not very bright.
And he's not very. Yeah, I'm glad you said it. But Alan persevered, and through a lot of, his own perseverance and overcoming challenges, and then our office and Scott and others and many others have poured into him and helped as well. And then Shelley came on board, and things just took right off. But I just wanted to congratulate Alan
Yeah.
for capping yesterday.
Absolutely. And truth be known, Alan was like, I think $300 away, like company dollar from cap. He would have capped twice in 2019, technically, right? So I mean, that's big. And I think your anniversary date's when? June. So I mean, basically 5-6 months of cap. So I mean, that's cap free. That's substantial. So I think that's definitely that's not an yeah. I won't say what he said to us yesterday here at the office.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for answering their phone when I had, ridiculous questions and, the ownership for also answering your phone and, when I was, pulling my hair out wondering, should I really be driving the truck again?
No, I think that, trust me, you don't have any crazy questions.
No, and it's kind of nice sitting around here and the realtor war stories too. It kind of, I can relate to and say, okay, I'm not the only one that, has got growing pains here. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So, without further ado, we're gonna cut them.
5-minute break.
5-minute break. You need a 5-minute break? Oh, sure.
I think now that we're getting into like the swing of things, we can kind of organize that, needs and wants.
That's Mr. Turgeon's department.
What's this now?
Needs and wants division.
Oh, like a meeting?
Yeah.
Yep, I can set one up today.
That would be
We got 5 minutes right now? No, just joking, I'll set it up, Glenn.
So we'll let Mr. Turgeon send that around.